Previously on
actual fandom. Half a star. I thought I've seen the worst thing on TV until I saw this show. It's embarrassing for Marvel to screen this. Like, no one reviewed it before publishing. Notice that says nothing about the show itself.
Bunch of nothing. They're just gonna copy what they read from real reviews. Not the tour de force Amazon thinks it is.
That's kind of why I want to look at it, because if you watched when we covered She-Hulk and the response to that, we went through some of the Rotten Tomatoes user reviews.
Previously,
they just don't get it. You shouldn't use beloved something that is meant to appeal to everyone's hates on gender, also destroying the whole character in the process.
Maybe you should have someone read that before he publishes it.
Oh! And it's almost like you can pinpoint which YouTuber they watch the most, right? Because some of the phrasings and stuff were like, might as well be the title of a Geeks and Gamers video, or might as well be the title of a Ryan Kimmel video. Disney continues to show how oblivious they are. This is yet another example of forcefully injecting wokeism as the forefront, ignored any creativity in dialogue, plot, character. It's not uncommon for movies or shows to have a high critical score and a low audience score. That's not like that. It never happens.
All my favorite horror movies are actually like this. Like
True.
all like the weird,
Dude,
more
horror movies are just like, critics love to bash on horror movies. It sucks.
Yeah, or even like the now elevated horror where the audiences are like, Hereditary, that wasn't scary, 2 stars, like,
So yeah, like we did with She-Hulk, we kind of just looked through, see, how in depth and how potentially honest are these low reviews. And just to be clear, because chuds love to make, reframe things as like, oh, they think any negative review is racist or dishonest. No, I don't. I think it's perfectly reasonable. Maybe I can't understand this opinion, but I know it's probably, there are probably people that watched it legitimately hoping for something and didn't get what they wanted. And it has nothing to do with bigotry or this whole anti-woke crusade or anything. I just think that it's probably kind of rare. Because as someone who has read the novels twice, once in middle school and then once again in my early 20s, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and saw every movie in theater, a couple of them twice. Didn't love The Hobbit, the Hobbit trilogy, because it's kind of just a bloated mess. Edited down into one movie. I think it could be good, but it's a bunch of crap.
Did you know there's a rated R version of Battle of the Five Armies?
I did not.
There's a rated R version where Peter Jackson was able to go a little further, and it's pretty good. I liked it, but go on. Sorry.
Well, so I was just saying that, like, I am not some shill. I am a fan. I am a longtime fan of Lord of the Rings, and I don't even like much fantasy stuff. But when it comes to Lord of the Rings, that grabbed me when I was young, and I just really loved that world of, Middle Earth. And
yeah,
so if this came out and I just thought it was not a good extension of Tolkien's work, I would say so. I've said it about, I plan to talk about the Fox X-Men movies at some point and really just kind of rant about those, because there's a lot of really frustrating shit with those movies.
You mean the Fox Wolverine movies? Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, Wolverine and his buddies.
Yeah. That's your first complaint.
Yeah. So it's not a shill. I want these things to be good. And the 2 episodes that have come out so far have been great.
I think they're really good. Yeah. I think it, and you know what? I was even thinking, I said this in another stream. I think it was Max's stream at first. I was like, it's a little slow. But then I was thinking, it's like, I thought the same thing about Fellowship at first too. So
here's the first one, an hour ago. I love the movies, and as a great Tolkien fan, I really hope this series they take the time to write a complete, coherent sentence, at least, if you're going to.
He had hoped the series was good, I'm assuming.
I know, but such a waste of time. So disappointed. Notice that with this, like with the She-Hulk ones, there's no detail about anything. Not like, no, he didn't call it woke, but he also didn't say anything about why he didn't like it. Just broad generalizations. Now this one really tells on itself. This series is an utter disrespect from the source material. More and more as episodes come out, we see it. So this was an hour ago. There's only 2 episodes out, and they both came out at the same time.
It's a bot.
So more and more he's like framing as if, oh, each week I'm getting mad all over again. And it's like, well, no, you're not, because both the episodes came out at one time.
Yeah.
Oh, just telling on himself. And then look, here we get into the Chud narratives. The writers and actors make excuses for it and blame the fans. But at the end of the day, it's just not good, and people know it. Nobody wants to pay to be insulted, and it shows. I canceled my Amazon Prime just because of this show.
Oh, dude, what about the terminal list, Joshua? Chris Pratt in the terminal list.
Right?
How
Like,
dare
what was
you?
it? Like a month ago, they were praising Amazon Prime for the terminal list.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, I just got that account. Now I have to cancel it because it's broke now. See, this seems like a reasonable. As a casual Tolkien fan, it's enjoyable. The show looks fantastic. There are plenty of great actors doing their best with what they've been given, but the writing is poor. The dialogue is at times cringe. Galadriel has had some questionable moments from the start to remind us how good and determined she is. Okay, then it starts to kind of, maybe I was wrong. Because I don't see Galadriel doing anything out of, different from what like a male character would do, but I see a lot of specific resentment towards her character in the show. Galadriel is a badass in the show, and she's determined, and she's, but I've seen a lot of chuds, and maybe not chuds, but I assume so, where they're just like pissed off that she's so good at everything, and she's so right. And it's kind of reminds me a lot of the She-Hulk stuff, where they're like, it just seems like they're filling in the cracks with their own insecurities or something. Like when they were saying that
because I don't know what they want, because it's like, remember, when she gets pulled from the water with the groups of guys, and the guys are a little toxic to her because they don't trust her, right? And it makes sense, right? I shouldn't have used the word toxic. That's a loaded word. But they're like bad, right? And then she does like the thing with the sea creature. One of them like, hey, you're actually pretty cool. Like, come on, like, like what do they want? Do they want do they want arcs for their characters? I don't know, like if they're taking, like I saw one example where a guy at least was trying to compare it to what we've seen of Galadriel in the original trilogy and stuff, where she's, she doesn't really do a lot. There's like that one scene, I think, in one of the Hobbit movies where she's a badass. But like other than that, she's just kind of standing around being wise and saying wise things and handing people gifts. So I saw one guy trying to be like, well, how did she go from this to that? And it's like, well, this takes place thousands of years before what we've seen Galadriel so far, right? Like, to act like the character can't be young and more brash and more action oriented, thousands of years ago, and then as time goes on, she calms down, becomes more of a font of wisdom and guidance for the heroes. And so, like, it's just, this sentence stands out as weird, but it's also showed how unlikable she can be. If this is the writer's intentions, they've done a great job, but I feel making her so powerful in comparison. What? How is she any more powerful than I gotta remember his name. Andurin? Oh man. Aurorder.
Yeah.
It sounds like the suburban Sasquatch from Best of the Worst.
Yeah. I wish I had a drop of that ready to go.
Oh, we'll do it for the edit, bro. Don't worry.
All right. Wow. Very disappointing. Was hoping all the criticism was wrong on this one. It's worse than what they say. Avoid.
It's worse than what they say. You haven't told us anything. You haven't seen it.
Literally nothing. It's like,
give any examples. Nothing.
It's like a half-ass attempt at saying, like, I heard all this bad criticism and I was hoping it was wrong, but it's not. It's worse. Like, I feel like this guy thinks he's really clever.
Yeah.
I feel like all these people think that, when it's pretty clear that they aren't actually responding to anything in the show or the writing. I mean, this one a little bit, but he also gave it 3.5 stars. Let's see. This is terribly written, paced, and has the kiss of death is that there are no characters I could care less about. Did they just hand $1 billion to old CW writers? Come on, man.
Dude, not even. Come on.
Come on.
And like, what do you think they mean dialogue? Because I'll admit, maybe the dialogue isn't the best, but in terms of the writing, I think they're setting things up really well. And there's like scenes that are engaging me. Like that one where even the elves is like, hey, we need to build this thing. We're gonna need help from another race, and they go to the dwarves thing. I thought all that was really well done. I thought it was just well done. I don't understand it. Yeah, exactly. She kind of comes off as Captain Ahab type character, right? That's what I get from it. How brazen she is and has been with her fellow warrior elves. All she cares about is revenge for the death of her brother, and that's it exactly. She's a motivated character. She's motivated by the death of her brother, trauma. You know what I mean? Which often motivates characters in good fiction. Yeah. So here's the two things.
It's clobbering time.
Gotta be fucking kidding.
That if somebody told me these two things, I would go, okay, I respect that opinion. I don't feel this way, but I could see that if you're wanting something more fast-paced, you might be disappointed in this. Or if you were wanting, like you said, some of the dialogue is, I don't think it's bad, but I can see, dialogue exchanges are a pretty subjective thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
how someone interprets it from a movie or whatever, like that, that's not realistic. That's not how people talk. Well, sometimes it is, but also maybe it's just because it's heightened fiction, that is how they talk. So like those are the two things that I could see somebody saying if they didn't like them, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, like you were saying, they seem to be conflating writing with or like narrative with dialogue.
Yeah, because I think it's a very well written show. And what I mean by maybe the dialogue isn't the best, what I really meant, it's not flashy. There's not like great, like amazing lines. Although there's some lines in there that I liked, but it's not like being flashy. The good writing is how they're telling the story, and I think they're so far they're setting it up pretty good.
See, Giuseppe here, beautiful special effects, photography. Well, all right, max level, but is boring as hell. Okay. That could go either way, but if I watched a show and the effects were great and the photography was magnificent and I just thought it was kind of boring, I'd probably give it at least 2 stars.
Yeah.
So a half a star is what stands out to me as like, maybe that's all right. And this one stands out to me as well. I didn't hate it, but it was boring and poorly done, especially in comparison to the movies.
No.
If it just ended there, I would be like, okay, that's maybe a legit review. Then it goes on to say, I don't care about the identity of the characters.
Oh, you clearly do, my friend.
I just want to spend my time watching things that are compelling, which is just like, they're so in their echo chamber that they think saying something like that is a normal thing to say about, like, what do you mean you don't care about the identity of the characters? They're characters in a show that you're watching. Their identities are everything. But yeah, we know what he means. He means he's thinking of identity politics, because I guess he thinks that that one elf shows up and he's like, I'm the black elf or something. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. Galadriel says 7 times in the first episode or whatever. Like, what does he think is happening? Oh man, it makes no sense.
Clearly does care. Whatever he's talking about, he clearly does care about it though. They wrote a monologue. They're monologuing.
I don't want to read the whole thing, but like the thing I'm thinking about is watched the first 2 episodes and couldn't remember the name of any characters besides Galadriel and Elrond. And I could say that about a lot of shows, honestly. Like, I'm not great at remembering names right off the bat. Like, it took me probably a full season of Game of Thrones before I really could tell you the names of a lot of the characters. I would just describe them as, you know what I mean?
I was like that with the boys a little bit at first too.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. I only knew because I read the comics who they were, but I could see that's not a criticism of the show. How is saying that you didn't, like, my memory sucks, so the show is bad? You know what I mean?